Good morning. Good Saturday morning. Welcome to On the Couch with Dr. Diamond. And of course, we have a wonderful topic this morning. But before we get into our topic, we will be talking about a few things, prior to getting into our heavy topic today. But, we are going to observe Memorial Day. So I just wanted to put that out there. But, as we keep moving through our week, and I hope everybody has had a positive week, and, be sure to have a safe Memorial weekend, and just do something very nice. And let's try to remember those who sacrificed their lives for our country. So I wanted to bring in our co-hosts, Michelle Matthews, and our other two co-hosts. We'll be seeing them soon. They had some things to take care of, but we love Miss Rajanta and Miss Sanella. So we hope to see them on our next show. But other than that, Michelle, how are you making out this morning?
Good morning. I'm making out good. It's early Saturday morning.
It's early Saturday morning. I know everybody usually have, their barbecues and everything for Memorial weekend, but I wanted to bring in the perspective of why Memorial Day came into existence. It was for these soldiers who sacrificed their lives really by joining the armed forces, and they died in combat, and that was the purpose of developing Memorial Day, to remember those that have actually passed during that during war, going into war. Yeah. So have you had any family members or know of any family members that has actually passed away during their service? Have you known
No,
anyone?
no. But
Yeah,
my
me either.
grandfathers were both in the service, so no, I haven't.
Yeah, yeah, I know my
Mm.
grandfather was in the service as well, but he was not one of those that was lost during, that time, died during war. So, but wow, but we thank them. We thank all
Yes,
of those who served our country and, sacrificed their lives, because hey, it's a big choice to go into the armed forces and sacrifice and know that you going into combat, like you literally know this is what I'm getting ready to go into. And yeah, it, with all of that, they do learn a skill, all of those things, but still
they
the
do.
main objective is war. So
And
it's a
I'm
scary
sure it's
thing.
hard on the family as well. It's not a decision
Absolutely.
that is made just by the sole person, but it's a whole
Yeah.
family that's
That's
affected.
so true. So true. A whole family. And then we lost Tina Turner. Tina Turner passed away on the 24th of this month. So we lost her at the age of 83. Wow. What a magnificent woman. Like, she came from like a lot of trauma she had in her life. If anybody knows, she left Nutbush to come to, what is it? Where did she go? To Chicago, where her mother was, and then she began to sing early in the bars. Young age, okay, 16 years old. Then she ran into Ike Turner, and then there it went. The woman experienced a lot of abuse. Do you know her
She
story,
did.
Michelle?
She did. I only know her story based off of the movie, but
Okay,
those few scenes that you do see in the movie, they can be traumatizing. But she fought back. I
absolutely.
think that when you look at it, she fought back, and she
Yes,
probably never looked at herself as a victim because she fought back.
right, right. She
And she
did.
always fought back.
Yes, and she did. I was able to read her book prior to
Okay.
seeing the movie. Her book was called I Am Tina. And within that book, she went through a lot, even with her mother. Her mother was not a supportive person throughout her lifetime. And we're talking about from childhood up. Her mom did leave her with her grandmother. That is true. And she did take the oldest daughter with her. Once she, you know, navigated to Chicago. This is where she is now. She leaves her daughter, who now feels abandoned. So at that time, Annie Mae Bullock is her real name. She was abandoned. So when you think about her trauma, it started there.
Right.
So nobody loves me. She left me behind. Grandma loves me, but still my mommy doesn't love me. That's very
Right.
different. You're looking at mom love or your parents altogether. How much does my parent love me? Well, they don't love me enough to stay or take me. So now she dealt with that. She finally gets the chance to go with her mom. She run into Ike Turner because she has this voice that was like a phenomenon to him. It was like, wow, this girl sounds like a man when she's singing. And you know this from the movie, but in her book, she said the same thing. And
Right.
she had a child at a young age, not with Ike, with his drummer. So I know, you see in the movie, it looks like she and Ike had a baby together first. No, her
It wasn't.
second child was with him, right? But I tell you, that woman went through a lot. The beating is in the, yeah, she said, I can remember this in the book and I'll never forget it. She said she was sitting in the living room. Everyone was in there. He walks up to her for no reason, puts a cigarette bud in her nose. Now the cigarette is still lit, burn her inside of her nose. And then she was just like, what, where's this coming from? These are the things he would do to her, and then you gotta couple in the drugs he was on, because he was heavy into cocaine, very heavy into cocaine. But that movie, when it came out, very traumatizing.
I think that when you see how far back that goes
Yeah.
and the level of abuse that she endured from
Yeah.
childhood to
Mm-hmm.
being with an abusive man really shows that things really haven't changed.
Right.
They became more secretive, but things just haven't changed. To be in a room full of people and nobody come to your rescue, how does that feel?
Right.
Where where
Good question.
where have the times changed where men do that? I mean, we see on social media all the time where men don't come to another woman's rescue, even when it comes to their friends.
Yeah.
When does it
Yeah.
stop?
Yeah, that is a great point. Like, when do you come to a rescue of a person? Why ignore instead of saying, hey, you know what? I need to say something. But I do know, sometimes when other people interject, then something happens to that person. So it is a risky thing to deal with because you don't know what will happen. Sometimes that person turns on, both people turn on the person
Right.
that's trying to help. So it becomes a sticky situation. Hey, Dean Geronimo, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. It's another Saturday, and we are still here. So yeah, I'm just listening to the conversation, and in that piece right there, now friends, family, that's a little different. I'll go ahead and interject in it. Somebody I don't know, while it may be the chivalrous thing to do to step in the middle of it, that's not my business. And before I step into that business and something happened to me, trying to be the quote unquote good Samaritan, I gotta let I call the police for you, but I'm not
There you
stepping in
go.
it. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's the least that I can do is to say, hey, look, we got a disturbance out here. It's a male and a female. Look like it's a tense situation. But that's the most that I can do from that point because as was stated, I've actually seen that happen where it's like, hold on, champ, what's going on over here? And the next thing you know, you're in the middle of a fight. You don't even know why. And then
Right.
that person who you were trying to keep from harm is now you have to defend yourself against more than one person. And it's like, you know what? I could have kept going to my car, get in the car, pull off. Hopefully nobody gets hurt, but that's not my business. So it's a tricky situation that, you got to be careful what you step into.
And I agree. I totally agree on that. But a lot of times people don't even call the police. They don't even walk away to call the police. They nowadays they turn their phone on and they want to video it before they call the
Right.
police. But I
We,
agree with
yeah.
the whole family and friends thing. If it's your friend, step in.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, if you're wrong, I'll deal with you later. But right now, I got to make sure that you don't get hurt.
Right.
It's a lot. I guess the generations are different, and it's no disrespect to them. It's just how they came up. It's automatic for them to pull out that phone and to record,
Right.
and that's
Mhm.
all that they do. And that's the extent of their involvement. Is, well, I got it on video. Well, that's not really helping because a whole situation just took place, and you
Right.
videotaped the whole thing. So
Exactly.
Yes, it's so true. The times are very different. And, it was unfortunate that, she dealt with that, and any woman that have dealt with it. It is a horrendous thing to deal with domestic violence because of how traumatic it is from the beginning and even the aftermath of it as well. So it's very hard, but you can get past it. You can get past it. Right. And the support is good. Positive people in your circle, that means a lot when you are
Yes.
healing from, traumatic situations in your life. It can be very difficult. And speaking of that, this brings us to our topic this morning about therapy and Black men or men of color in period, because we have Black African American men, we have Hispanic men, we have Native American men. So we have men of color. What is that like for them to go to therapy if they go, and some that do not go to therapy? So I wanted to, at least get a male perspective. And this is why we have Dean Geronimo joining us this morning, just to get a perspective on what that is like. Do we have men out there that do go to therapy, and if they do, what was it like for them? Or again, we all, well, we can only speak, you and I, Shell, we can only speak from the woman's perspective. We have John who will be able, or Dean will be able to speak from a male's perspective. So let's delve into our topic today:
All
therapy
right.
and Black men. So when you hear that, what do you hear? Therapy and Black men.
I'm not going. I don't need it. I don't need nobody telling me how to solve my problems.
Uh-huh.
but you
Exactly.
have to you have to kind of take it back further than that. Okay, so a lot of us do not also go to the regular doctor. We won't go, as long as we feel that everything is fine, then we say, you know what, I'm good. And part of pride too, because then they say, well, if I'm going to counsel, people are going to think I'm crazy. Well, we already think that. But they don't realize that we already think that. So then it's like something where, if something is happening, whether it be a physical thing or an intellectual, I'll say mental thing, as long as we feel that we can handle it, then we say no to any type of treatment until we get to that brick wall, because every road has a stop sign. And then it's like, okay, what do I do now? Sometimes it's too late,
Yeah.
for those of us who we don't have that shame. It's like something's wrong. I can't fix it. I need somebody to help me. Then those are the individuals that say, you know what, look, can I get some treatment? I'm looking for a therapist. A lot of us will say, look, I'm looking for a Black therapist. We kind of relate to each other on a better level, whether it be male or female, kind of understand some of the things I may have been through, whereas trying to explain it to someone else, I have to take the first step to set up the situation. Then I have to
Right.
take the next step to bring you through what may possibly happen. Then I get to stage 3. Now I'm telling you what's wrong with me. I've been there too long. Like my hour's up, and I don't even get to. So sometimes it's like flipping a coin. You don't know who's going to say, yes, I need the help, or who's going to say, no, I'm good. I'll handle it. But we don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to.
So I
Mm-hmm.
have a question for you. Um, as a Black man, do
Mhm.
Black men talk about whether or not they are currently in therapy with other Black men? Would you
It,
say you is that a topic of conversation?
it's going to depend on the circle in which you're in at the time something like that comes up. So there's certain types of circles. And when I say that, you have your circle where grown men, we talk about different issues that's affecting us as we get wiser and as we mature more. And then you have the group of friends that you just hang out with, and it's just, you don't talk about nothing serious. It's all fun and games. And then there's the group that you kind of hang with, and you don't know what kind of conversation you're gonna have. But if it gets too sensitive, we're not going there. So it depends on which circle you're around. Like I see one of the comments say, and that's true. Growing up, most of us are taught crying is a girl's thing. Hold your emotions in. You have to be strong. Define strong, because if you're talking about putting the weight of everybody else on my shoulders and carrying my own, I don't have that much energy. But we're taught to do those things because that was the definition of manhood. Well, no, that's the definition of driving yourself crazy. And that's why a lot of women are of advanced age and they're by themselves. Like, well, her husband died 30 years ago. Yeah, because he took everybody's problems and his own. He bottled up all his emotions. So when he wanted to cry, he sucked it in, blew his blood pressure up, and had a heart attack. So we have to be real careful about those old school ways of I'm a man. Well, define manhood. And then when you ask somebody that question, you get different answers, but sometimes you get a pause like, what do you mean? A man is a man. Well, hold on. We in a different age now, and it means something different to some people. So you have to define what manhood actually means before you can go out and execute. You can try to pretend that you know everything, but we don't. And part of being humble and part of being more mature is accepting the fact that you don't know everything and that you do need help. You cannot do all of these things by yourself, but you can, but you won't be around much longer. And when you stress yourself to death, then, in a sense, it's selfish because you sat there and you didn't let, people that actually care for you and somebody that can help you is there, but you push them all away because you can handle it. But let's see if you can handle going 6 feet deep and not coming back, and all of the things that you wish you would have done differently, you never did because pride kept you from doing it. It's a very fine line that you go into,
Yes, I mean that kind of sums up I hope he answered your question, because it sounded like he really did in length and in detail. That was good, because that's true. Girls and boys grow up so differently. Like, we're able to cry where boys are not. They're not able to do those things. What I would like to also lead into, and I had a chance to go over like an article this morning about Black men and mental health and how much it matters, but they also talked about several different things. Let's begin with trust. Okay. Trust is a big factor, right? If I don't trust the system, why am I going to the very system I don't trust? So I would like for us to delve into that, the trust factor, because that is a part of our community. We don't trust the medical or mental health communities due to how Black people or anyone that is non-white don't trust because of the treatment. So let's really think about that. Trust. When you hear that word trust and therapy, do they go together?
Yes.
They do.
To a certain extent. Yes.
Okay. How come? Explain your answers, why they would be, those two words will marry each other.
So
I would say, go ahead, Cheryl.
No, go ahead.
Well, I would say, I'm going to trust that when I come to you, I'm going to get the assistance that I need. But I also have to trust myself to be able to ask and not be afraid to ask those questions when I'm not clear. A lot of times in our community, when we're not clear, we walk away. So you still know as much as you did when you first heard that, or we retaliate, or we become a little defensive, and now what we were looking to have help with just got derailed. We don't even trust each other. So when they try to say, oh, I don't trust the system, but you don't trust your next door neighbor either. So where does that leave you? What are you going to do to better yourself? Sometimes you have to play this game, and it's a game we got put into. We didn't volunteer for this. We didn't ask to be brought to this world. However, now you know what the game looks like. You got to be able to play the game, or you walk away from the game and you just keep suffering. Which one are you going to do?
Which one are you gonna do? Yeah, that's true.
And I guess
Which one are
this
you
is
gonna
kind
do,
of like
Michelle?
it's like I'll say for me personally, I went to see a therapist and he didn't look like me. But when he started to talk, he gave me more information about him and who he knows that made me uncomfortable with me opening up to him about what I was going through. Because my
Yeah.
trust now is broken because I don't know if you know
Yes.
the same people. We had the same people in the same circle. So how do I know that even though it's supposed to be confidential, how do I know you're not going to tell my business to someone else? So
True.
trust is very hard. It's
Mhm.
very
Yes.
hard. So I tried to go back a few times, but then I was like, nah, this isn't. And then I wonder if you go to somebody that looks like me, you still have a hard time opening up to people because you don't trust.
This is true. So let me speak from the perspective of the therapist that I mostly see African Americans. And I'm going to get to that also because will delve into why the percentage is so low. But when I first start out, I do not begin with saying to you, okay, you're in therapy. I begin by saying, you know what, you and I together we're gonna go on a healing journey together. What do you think your healing journey would look like? What is that gonna look like for you? It registers differently. That terminology is different from therapy. If you say therapy, look what happens. You get you get the distrust, as you stated. Then you are, and then let's talk about this colleague of mine that was talking to you. They have to remember that it's not about them. It's not about them at all. It is about the person that is seeking the help from you. So therefore, consider the fact that one, as a Black therapist, change your terminology, meet the person where they are, because that's how you're going to build trust within the first 2 to 3 minutes. Because you're right, Shell, it can break instantly and then they don't come back. Once you're able to open that gate up and that person is able to walk through that gate and they feel comfortable, they will be back and they're going to come back because they feel that they're able to open up, be vulnerable. It is about them. And when you make it about them, that's when you got it. But when you don't, you did exactly what anyone would do. Oh, no, this is not about me. This is about the other person. So that is, from my perspective as a therapist. And real quick, Dean, I want to just go to 2 comments that I see here. How can we change that narrative? And this is something you would be able to answer. Changing the narrative about Black men, possibly the mistrust of all systems, like you indicated. It's just not mental health and medical system, but it's the system of our community. How can we change that narrative?
You know what? We have to get to the point where we teach our younger Black boys and men that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go ahead and express your emotions, not so much in anger, but when you're not feeling well, when you're feeling down, who do you trust with your life? And that's the individual or individuals that you share those intimate details with, those that you know that are not going to go back and make it broadcast news, but are going to be there for you, even if it's just sitting there with you and watching the paint dry on the wall. But you know that they're there. You know what I mean? We have to be able to teach our young boys and men that it is a natural, being sad is a natural emotion. Being depressed is not. But now, if you hold in that sadness and you don't let it out in a constructive way, it becomes anger, it becomes resentment, it becomes depression. Now you got 3 other issues that you got to deal with, and you're still talking about you can handle it. Some people will be able to change, some people won't. As far as adults, how can we encourage the men in our lives to be open to mental and medical health treatment? The first thing, if you bring that up, be prepared for the blowback because they're going to tell you, I'm not crazy, I'm not sick. Now, he could be falling over in pain every day. He's going to tell you he's not sick because I'm a man, I'm supposed to be tough, I'm supposed to be able to handle these things. But if you're there, don't argue because you turn into an argument. He's gonna feel the need to defend himself. But you're there, and if you word it in the way women know how to word stuff that'll make you listen, and it's up to you whether you listen or not. But at that point, you say, you know what, you're right. I'm dealing with this, and it's been too long. But also be willing to make that time to go with them because they won't feel safe walking in there by themselves. They'll walk in there, get halfway, turn around, and they'll leave. But if you're with them and they know they can trust and depend on you with anything, they'll feel a little bit safer. Still gonna feel uncomfortable until after they have that conversation with the mental health or medical professional. But then once they feel comfortable, they're a little more amenable to um, getting that treatment and continuing that treatment. And it may come to a point where they say, well, you know what? You don't have to go with me to this appointment. I'm going to go by myself. And it's almost like riding a bicycle when you teach a child to ride that two-wheel bicycle and you're holding on to that back and they're pedaling and you're walking or running with them. And then you let that bike go. And then they start to do it on their own. And when they start to do it on their own, they start feeling better. When a man starts to do those things to take care of himself on his own, he starts to feel better. So now it doesn't matter if my homeboy's like, yeah, dog, you in treatment. I'm like, yeah, you need to come with me because you got a whole bunch of situations that's going on with you, dog. And they might be able to help you. So even if you sit outside in the car, I'm going to set you up an appointment. I don't need no appointment. I'm good. Like, you good in your mind, but you're looking at a 19-inch TV screen when life is a 1,000-inch screen. Which screen you looking at? The one that's right in front of you. You can't see what's around and on the sides. And then you deal with problems as they come up. And then you're hitting brick walls here and there, frustrated, mad, angry. And then, all your relationships, interpersonal work, everything is just off because you didn't take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Agreed. Cheryl, what do
Definitely
you
agree.
think about
I
changing the
definitely
narrative?
um I think the generations have changed where now moms and grandmoms are younger and
Mm-hmm.
they don't
Mm-hmm.
um I know how I am as a grandmom, but a lot of times they leave it up to the child or their children to make these decisions. And I think because the generations have changed and times have changed, they no one feels like therapy is okay, even for some women. I know that when my daughter lost her son's father, me trying to convince her, and we're 8 years, 7 years later, while she appears to be healed, now I'll say within the fifth or sixth year, it was like, okay, you need to get yourself some help. I don't need help. I'm fine. Or it was, okay, I'm going to. But then I had to explain to her, your son needs to get therapy because it needs to be explained to him how his father passed and his dad's not here. And then his question is, well, where's my dad? How come my dad is not
Mm-hmm.
here? We're not professionals, so we don't know how to explain that to a child. Where if we start him at 4 just to do the therapeutic things as far as music or art, just to for him to learn his emotions as he gets older, he realizes, oh, I went to therapy at 4. He might still be in it at 10 to 15 to know that it's okay. So we have to start them really, really young with therapy. It's like taking a medicine. If you know you have to take a lifetime medicine, don't one day take it and the next day not. You're showing your children inconsistencies, and then they grow up to be that adult to say, I'm not taking that medicine because this medicine made me look crazy or feel different, when we should have been the example to say it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, because we are the example. And we too have to take or acknowledge. The acknowledgement and the self-awareness is very, very important. I want to stress that very highly, that when we are being the model to the children around us, we have to say that too. Like, I have to know when I need assistance. And that goes for males and females in the house. You have to recognize if you are at a point where your fear is now panic attacks, become aware of it. What I ask a lot of people to do, and this is suggested to all of us that's on this line and everybody that's watching us right now and listening, check in with your body. Always check in with your body and see what your body is doing. That is also something you can do when you're not feeling well medically as well. So if you can recognize a cold, you can also recognize when your body starts shaking and then something triggers you and all of a sudden your heart is palpitating and you can't breathe and all of these things are happening. You can't just ignore it, because you will continue to have panic attacks when you can actually go and get help for it, because you need to understand how to control it, because it is controlling you. So you have to go the other way around. So I agree with you, Shell. It has to start from a young age, but you as the adult have to be aware, step up, take accountability from when you're not feeling well, and then they'll understand. Because even if they ask you, where do you go, or why do you go to this room, and you're on talking to someone, explain it as much as you can. I go to speak to someone because I need help with this. This gives the child the opportunity to understand, oh wow, I can open up and talk to someone, because they can. So it starts in the beginning. What do you see? Everything we teach children, like you said, Shell, from the beginning. I agree with you 100%. Start from the beginning and then move forward. So then if we look at, again, Black men and how we raise them, it starts with what Dean says. The feelings is what we really need to talk about in the beginning. It's okay for you to cry. If you scrape your leg, that hurts. You can cry about it. I mean, I don't see why you can't. Because if a girl can, why can't the boy cry about it?
Right.
If
Right.
they lose something, a person that's close to them, a friend or something, you're going to tell them internalize the feeling instead of externalizing the feeling. So it goes back to breaking these old ways of showing emotion. We have real ones. So if we keep them from accepting the real one, the one that they will gravitate to quicker is anger. That's the one, because that's the one people allow them to show. So now what? You have a bunch of people in the world, males, that will walk around and they're more angry because that's the one they're told to show the most. So what do we do with that when it
Well,
comes
that's
to
how they
mental
get
health?
the attention. That's how
Yes,
they get the attention from being angry. That's the only
yes,
way
from
somebody's
being,
going to listen to me is if
yes.
I show them the angry side of me.
But
And
then, but it,
mhm.
it actually backfires because you know what? You could be as mad as you want to be. But when you start expressing something to me and I haven't done anything to you, tone it down, Jack. Because the second that you start going off the deep end, I got to make a choice. Do I walk away from you and leave you right there looking like you looking? Do I try to calm you down? Is it worth taking the time and effort to calm you down when I really don't know what the actual problem is and you just walk around mad, loud, and angry? Or do I stop you? And unfortunately, we get in situations where, yeah, that's how we express ourselves and that's just how it is. But you're talking to someone who's thinking, if he doesn't calm down in the next 30 seconds, then I'm going to have to calm him down. Now, situation escalates, and now we got a whole different situation altogether. We have not been taught to actually verbalize. And see, I was one of those kids that I said what I thought, and I caught. I mean, I got beat for it a lot, but I spoke my mind and I said what I had to say. And if you didn't like it, that's kind of like your thing to deal with, But a lot of us are not. We're not able to. And like I said, my parents didn't put up with the silliness, but I still now had to learn how to express myself without getting what came after just blurting something out and it's like, well, this is how I am. A lot of us said this is how we are. but we don't take steps to change who we want to be. We end up just use that as the plain excuse. So now you're talking to females or anybody else, and it's like, you know what, I don't really feel like dealing with him today because he's just mad all the time and he's blurt stuff out. That's just how he is. Well, when you take a look back, being that's the way that I am, how has that worked out for you?
Right.
You know, how has that really been successful for you to actually verbalize how you're feeling and for someone to say, okay, you know what? I'm sorry you feeling that way, but let's see what we can do to help you feel better, get better, or whatever it may be. Now you're angry and you still got the problems, and you added a couple of more on because you ticked a couple of more people off, and now you had a couple of more arguments in between. So you're angry. That's on you. And that's the
Mhm.
one thing that, you know, for those of us who grew up with that tough love was like, be angry, but be mad enough to do something to change it. And if you're not mad enough to do something to change it, let it sit there and stew and brew. And one day you'll get out of your own way and figure out how you're going to solve your problem because it's not mine.
Or
Mhm.
you're
And we
gonna be
got
or you'll be left alone because not
right.
people
So
don't like
now,
not
Right.
angry
right,
people.
you done had 15 relationships and they all did something to you. Well, what did you do?
Right.
You know,
Right.
what did you do? And it could be, and a lot of times we think, what did we do? And we're thinking something big, but it's not the big things, it's the little stuff. It's all
Uh-huh.
these little things that built up over time. And then now, oh well, she just quit on me. No, she got to the point where she couldn't take it anymore. And she had to go get therapy to deal with you. But you won't get therapy to deal with you. So to keep her sanity, she said, you know what? I gotta leave you where you are. I still got love for you. But until you do something to take care of yourself, you can sit right here on these steps by
I got
yourself.
it. Yeah. You
Yes.
know, one
Yes.
other thing that I thought about while we are having this conversation, when you have health insurance and you say,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go and get help and I'm gonna
Mhm.
Mhm.
go on my account and look for a therapist, they don't
Mhm.
show a picture. They don't show they don't show people that look like, so if we're looking for somebody that looks like us, you got
Right.
a
You're not gonna
million
find
providers. How many look like us? And do
Very
we
few.
but do we also take the time, because you know you got to click on the person's name, go on the internet, do
Mhm.
some more research?
Mhm.
it.
People don't
Mhm.
want to do that either. So I
Because
Yes.
think
we
that
Yes.
are
go ahead.
no, no, I was just go ahead. Let you finish your statement. I'll go after you.
I think that finding somebody to talk to is hard because it's not
Yeah.
readily available, and most of us want readily available
There
things.
you go. That's what I
Yes.
was gonna say. And sometimes it takes that extra step or two, or maybe three, because anything worth having is worth, you know, it's just not gonna fall in your lap. If that was the case, we all be billionaires because we say, you know what? Everybody at some point in life has said, I need more money. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
the money just didn't fall out of the sky. Then you open your bank account like, yo, I'm a billionaire. Like every dollar you get, you have to work for. So now, if you have to work on being a better you, it's not gonna fall in your lap. Because Dewan Jenkins, you'd be like, yo, I know he got to look like me. His name Dewan. And then when he walk out there, be like, hey man, I'm Dewan Jenkins. You'd be like, wait, what just happened right here?
It's the wrong
Lord have
person.
mercy, I've been in the wrong
Right.
place, dog. I'm looking for the hamburger spot. I'm not even supposed to be here right now. You know, but you have to take the step. And then when you look not only for what they may look like, also look at what their credentials are, what their specialties are, so that you know who you are going to meet and what they can actually bring. Like most people say, what do you bring to the table? Well, they're telling you what they bring to the table. If you see one or two things, maybe that's the thing you need. But if you need more than that, you need to go take a few more steps to find someone that'll be able to assist you with that. And if you're doing it through your job, I mean, the employee assistance program is going to help you out. So you're not even coming out of pocket with that whole amount because the therapist can charge you because they're helping you sort through your mess. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
So I want to read something real quick to you both, and then I'm going to actually make a statement after this, right? This is what I also found in this mental health article also. If black men if black men are able to find a treatment that is culturally responsive, that he is understood, and that embraces the uniqueness of his differences, he is more likely to use that service. This is true. If he is able to find someone that is not talking at him, but talking with him, he will participate. He will not participate if the person is talking down at him. Now, working in this field, I have had other colleagues who are white that would say, I don't know why this person no longer works with me. Well, how I ended up finding out the answer is because those that choose to now come to and able to find the black therapist, it is something you do by asking them their past experience with a therapist. And I've had many that say, I was being talked at. Shell, you said this, they were telling their business versus listening to the person, which is a complete turnoff. Or you're telling the person how to feel. You can't do that. So those are complete turnoffs. But when you're hearing this is about cultural sensitivity. This is why this is important to learn it. And it doesn't matter what area of work you're in, cultural sensitivity is important because you can lose people. But when you're a therapist, it's very, very, very important. And it's imperative that that person is culturally sensitive. That is an actual class that many of us take. I can't speak for social workers, but I can speak for marriage and family therapists. We had to take a class that surrounded around cultural and diversity, because culture is important in the diversity with it. How do you learn about somebody else's culture? You have to ask them. You have to ask. So what do y'all two think about that statement there?
You got to know how to talk to us. And we are a very unique group of individuals, regardless of how you grew up, where you grew up. A black man is a black man. And you got to talk to us. Now, you could talk at us all day long. We'll hear the words, but we will discard the message because all you did was point out everything that was wrong with me. Now, on the flip side of that, and it may be wrong, but this is what we do. You can call me on my BS, and I'm gonna be like, you know what, you right. Yeah, I should have done this. I should have done that. Now, technically, are you talking at me, or are you telling me what I should be doing? Yeah, in a sense, you are. However, you understand from even before I got here what our people have gone through and what we're dealing with now. So I can accept you calling me on my BS, but them, nah. You just know me as a hour paycheck. For this 60 minutes, you're gonna tell me how I should handle the situation, or you gonna help me sort through how I should be getting it done. Now, yeah, you're talking at me. So you know what? Now, before I do something that's gonna get me in trouble, in fact, I don't even have to pay you. Let me go find another therapist. If it takes me 6 months to a year, so be it. I'll deal with whatever comes in between, but I'm willing to do that for the sake of my sanity and the sake of my freedom. You're not going to talk at me. I don't care who you are. My own parents, God rest their souls, they didn't talk at me. Yeah, they did sometimes because they told me what to do. But at the same time, I was a child in a child's place. But now as a grown man, nah, you're not going to do that. I'll hear you and I'll tell you thanks, but I'm walking away after that. I'm done.
But it does come with cultural differences, and that's the problem. They're not taking the moment. Those particular therapists are not taking the moment to understand who they're talking to. Now, when you think about it, they actually think about more of the stereotypes versus them actually saying, who is this person? How do I get to know this person? And this can be just on black, black therapist, black client. You still need to know the person. Just because we're both black, our backgrounds could be totally different. But since it's not about me, it's about you, I like to learn you. What's going on with you? How do I get to understand you? There are layers of things that black men, because we're talking about black men or men of color in general, that there are layers that black men go through as well. They have their own traumas. They don't know how to express those. Financially, how, the strain if they're not, getting the job that they want to get to take care of their family. We have police brutality. They don't know if they're going to survive out here in this world. So let's think about the mental pressures that these men are under constantly. This is ongoing, and those that do attend therapy, listen, the statistics that I found between 18 to 44 years old and those that actually go is 26.4%. That's not a high percentage when you think about Caucasians going. They're at a high percentage. They know if they have an issue, their kids can start in therapy at 2 years old. They think something is wrong with their children at that particular age. They will start that young. And then you have us that will say, oh, put the crazy person in the corner. That's just crazy cousin Billy. Okay, but you know what? He's going through something. You don't even know what he's going through, but you label him and you put him into the corner. So that, to me, we're doing a disservice to, again, the family members that are possibly going through, multiple layers of trauma, experiences, depression, anxiety. And I also found that schizophrenia in the 1960s was huge. It was like a phenomenon amongst black men, and they were dealing with schizophrenia. And I was like really shocked when I read this morning. I was like, oh my gosh, who would have known that? And then when you go back to I found a researcher by the name of Samuel A. Cartwright. Now, Cartwright was talking about drapetomania. Drapetomania means an uncontrollable or insane impulsion to wander among enslaved people who express a desire for freedom. This is what that was. So they named it that. But see, listen to how they, defined it. These are wandering slaves, but you have people that are enslaved against their own will. Of course, they're going to desire to be free, but then you got to, all of those other things that come with it is depression, trauma, anxiety, just completely breaking down mentally. Schizophrenia will come, schizoid, agoraphobia. It's just so many things will come with that, and it's just a lot. And overall, we are still dealing with those. So when you think about men, their feelings are transmuted. So what does transmuted means is that it is silent, but it's still the same thought of, I don't trust you because I don't trust the system. I don't trust what you'll probably say. You're going to avoid all emotional expression. So it's just so much that comes with that. But, I just wanted to give our listeners a little bit more of a background of why men may not even go because of certain factors. So we have to acknowledge those factors. So when one of our listeners commented on how do we change the narrative, the only way to change the narrative is encouraging. That's all we can do. Encourage and help and answer the right questions. Dean said it too. Be supportive to the person. If you can support them and walk them through it, that's the best thing you can do. I mean, that is just, I know I'm going to get off my soapbox here and just get you to tell me what you think. But what do you think about what I just, read out to you all?
I would say that's about right. It may be, I don't know if the number may be a little higher than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
We do need that support. We do need that encouragement, no matter how brave of a face that we put on. There are times where we truly, sometimes when we bat ourselves, like, Lord, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to get through this without looking crazy at the same time? So we've all been there, but when you have someone who's actually there to encourage and support, then you don't start thinking of what do I do? It's kind of like, all right, let me take this deep breath. And if I don't like this first meeting, you'll never have to worry about me coming back again. However,
Mhm.
you go through it, you get to it, you go through it, and then things start to work out, and you're able to take a step back sometimes from situations instead of jumping emotionally in and using that logic and looking at things and say, okay, well, you know what? Let me move this out the way because that's the trigger that's going to try to get me to get upset. And once I get upset, I move away from what I'm actually trying to do. And then to look at the problem and then being able to dissect it and work it out.
Mhm.
But what do you do for
Mhm.
that man that doesn't have that person or persons? What do they do? Who do they turn to? And
Yeah.
in their darkest hour, and that even goes back to our children, when when they don't trust, or they feel like there's no out, because I know that a lot of times people feel like I don't have anybody to turn to. And you
Now,
could be in a
I'm,
room full of people and still not have that one person that says, I'll go with you, or you can trust me, or I'll support you. How does that work?
I'm gonna say this, and even though I may be wrong, but everybody has at least one person. They may not be blood related, they may just be a friend, but everybody has that one person that they talk to all the time. And that person may not be forthcoming and say, I'll go with you, but then you got to build it up within yourself to say, you know what? Hey, man, or hey, sis, will you go with me to this thing real quick? Well, what is it? Hey, look, you'll see when you get there. I don't really want to tell you because I don't want you to think I'm crazy. No, no, you're not crazy, you know. But everybody, most people, I should say, not everybody, but most people have at least one person that they confide in, no matter who that person may be. But now you got to be able to start bringing up some stuff that you kept locked away that was everybody's secret. So now, if you really trust that person and you told that person 99% of your business, give them that 1% and let them help you. Unfortunately, for those who do not have anybody, it's not no. The only advice you can give is kind of empty. It's like you gotta put pride to the side. They'll be like, well, what does that mean? I don't have it. I have pride in myself, but they missed the whole definition. So they may not ever go get any help. But it is we have to start when they're younger to let them know that it's okay to get help. It's okay to be helped. All the time you're helping somebody to say, you can help people, but somebody's gonna help you. You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder when that breakdown really starts, because as a parent, you always take your child to the doctors to get to
Yeah.
get to get better, to
Mm.
feel better, when they're sick. But
Mhm.
why does the brain, the mind, break down to say that we can't go get help when we're not mentally okay? Where
Right.
does that
Right.
break? Like, where does that
Excellent
breakdown come?
That is an
Uh,
excellent question. It really
yeah.
is. What do you think, Dean? What do you think?
Um, as we start going through life and encounter certain life experiences, and some of them we've dealt with on our own. So we believe that if I made it through that, then I can make it through this. And if I've done that, then I can do this. The doctor wasn't there when I went through this storm over here, and I came out just fine. Even though you left a whole path of destruction and you never look back to see what you left, but then it becomes something mental where it's like, I can handle it. And when we get to the point where our parents are not taking us to the doctor anymore, now I get to choose whether I want to go to the doctor or not. Do I feel like sitting in there, people coughing and wheezing, and people look, nah, I don't want to. So unless it gets serious, I'll pass on that. And by the time they get to the point where they need to go to the doctor, when they explain what's wrong with you, it's too late. So now you want to do all of these things to try to, oh, I got to get healthy. Well, man, your whole insides are like cardboard wood, and it's only a matter of time before it disintegrates. And you've waited too late. We don't invest in ourselves to include health, mental health. We want to say, well, I have money, possessions, and all of those things, and they account that to being successful. Meanwhile, you're drying out, and we
Well,
don't
and
take
then
that time to say,
sometimes they're lonely. You end up lonely because you
Mhm.
have all those things, but you
hmm
can mentally drive that other person to, like you said, a path of destruction. Like, what did you
right,
leave behind?
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, you
what
can
is
leave a
it?
lot of things
Right,
behind. I also think too, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, and Shell, you too. Youth is the thing. When you're young, you feel like I can bounce back from anything. I think that's where a lot of the breakdown comes in that too. We can teach our children to go and seek even medical help and say, hey, you got to take a physical every year. And sometimes we got to keep telling them over and over, even as they become older teenagers and young adults. Don't forget your appointment. And then after a while, we have to fall back and make sure, hopefully we know that they know to go out there and do that. But if they don't continue to do it, it's not much we can do. And then you look at, you know what I mean? And that youth is, I can bounce back from anything, but don't realize you can't necessarily bounce back from depression like that. You can't necessarily bounce back from panic attacks. You can't necessarily bounce back if you are now dealing with a severe mental health problem that you must take medication for, and multiple medication, and see a psychiatrist on top of all of that. You can't necessarily bounce back from those things, but being aware of them and taking that courage and saying, hey, something is wrong with me, even going and as you stated, Shell, too, sometimes you may not have that person, but even if you don't have the person, at least try your best to acknowledge that something is just not right with me. I'm not feeling good, and jump out on that limb, look for that therapist. So now that we're close into the end of our show, I do want to encourage those men, hopefully anyone that is listening that happen to be a man on the line or watching us today. If not, please, ladies, take this back to your family members that are males. And if you know that they have been through something, encourage them to listen to this today, because a lot of the times we do leave males out. It is not our intentions to do that. So forgive us. And I'm not going to speak on everybody's platform, but on this platform, we will say please forgive us, because at times we do forget males, and we need to realize that they are there. They have problems just as much as women do. But we do encourage you, brothers. You got to get up and recognize what's going on with you to make change. That's my ending for, what my takeaway for today.
I second that.
Okay. This
yeah.
is so,
So,
Dean, your takeaway for this today.
you know what? In order for us to be around for our children, our grandchildren, and whatnot, we got to start taking care of ourselves. And sometimes other people's problems and issues have to take a backseat so that we can get back to taking care of ourselves. And once we're able to take care of ourselves, then we'll be able to help somebody else. And as I always say, and I'm gonna shut up after this, but when you walk outside your front door, showtime and the world is your stage. Just make sure that people are not watching the rehearsal. Fellas, we gotta get it together. We gotta get it done.
Yes, amen. And thank you. So, Dean Geronimo, thank you for joining us today. And Miss Rajanta and Miss Sanella, we will see the two of you in 2 weeks. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon. And remember, like us on Facebook, even like us on YouTube. Follow us, subscribe, and follow us, because we're going to have some more wonderful, in-depth topics we like to talk about. And, I know, when the four of us together, we get to laugh, giggle, and have fun. And just note that we appreciate all of you that chime in and also watch us every 2 weeks, because you never know what you can obtain. Knowledge is power. So remember that. And enjoy your weekend. And remember our fallen soldiers. Please take care of yourself And like Jerry Springer said, and each other. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you for joining On the Couch this evening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you want to contact Dr. Diamond, you may reach her at candidconversations.dr.d@gmail.com. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the next show.